there, ref. That's he got the ball. Good evening, Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys Dave and Jack. This is your time of the week to come on and have your say. For all you channel members, we appreciate you, and the link is up in the post section for you to click on and come on and have your say. What we're not going to do is have you sitting in the back end for a while. We've learned from our errors or trying to learn from our ways. We're just going to bring people on as they come in, and you can come on and have your say. There's various different topics. I mean, one of the biggest heading into Thursday night, I suppose, is, I see lots of different opinions on it. People saying sack Ange now and get someone else in place for Thursday. Do you agree? Disagree with that? Anyone that's disagreed with me and my Romero takes last week, like Sean hiding in the comments, feel free to come on and have your say about that. Also, reports today suggesting Tottenham have to sell before they buy, and also the report suggesting I think Enoch and Levy are like 19th or 20th in terms of putting money in towards the football club as well. Also, let's not forget the big game Thursday night as well. Maybe stuff around team selection. If anyone's got any controversial ones or a player they prefer to see start over someone else, feel free to bring that up, and what you expect from Thursday as well. So there's lots of things to talk about. Like I said, it's your time of the week. Feel free to click on the link and come on and have your say. Big up, Shawnee. Stop hiding in the comments and come on and speak to me, my man. We've got Johnny in the house. Good evening. Good to see you, Johnny. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Shem Tam says, hey, Jack and Dave. Chat, hope all is good. Sean says, can't get your names correct. Did Ange break your brain that much? No, the tactical breakdown we done just it was pure brain rot, actually, Sean. Joey Regan says, in Ange I trust. And then also we've got Romero out, fam. That's from Eugene. Well, we'll have to have a conversation around that. Joey, I'm not sure whether you're in here trolling, but surely there's no one left that's Ange. There just can't be right now.
I think he's
not
one of them.
19 losses this season. So if you're not trolling, feel free, get yourself a membership. Come on, have your say and tell me and probably the whole panel who probably, are Ange out, I would say at this point, why you think he should be kept in the job. So there's lots of things to talk about. But look, we're just going to get straight into it. We're going to bring on the people that are here. Like I said, if you click on, you can just jump in on the conversation. We've got Eugene, we've got Brad Matthews, we've got Daniel Larson, and we've got Dermotron so far. So big up, guys. Good to see you, gentlemen. And then Shawnee making more excuses. Dave, I can't hop on this at work. I'm in the office Monday to Thursday most weeks. Absolutely.
He changed up his schedule, Dave, so he could hide from you even more.
That's what he done. He went to work and says, please give me another schedule. No, I'm only messing. No, big up, Shawnee. I understand, man. Big yourself up. Look, I suppose we'll start with you, Eugene. Explain this. Romero out.
You know what? He wants to be, gone. Just his comments are inexcusable. Even if he wants to leave, just making these statements, during the cup run, just inexcusable. He wanted to be gone for a while, so just get him out. I think it's a part of the culture of the club. Of course, it's the manager, it's the board, but we need players who are committed. Romero is obviously a very good player, but this season...
Do you think he's one of our best players in the squad?
So in isolation, in the vacuum, he is, right? He's an elite defender, elite player. We can see... We don't have anybody in the squad who is as good on the ball as him. Nobody can make that pass. He's a great player when he wants to be. The issue is this season, he hasn't been playing well. Effort hasn't been there in the league, at least. And, after making those comments and just the way he's been carrying himself, being always available for Argentina, not for us, and being a vice captain as well, just not being that leader that we need at the back, just sell him. We can't have the players, in the squad, especially senior players that act this way. So,
do you think the journalist was kind of just taking advantage of kind of a fragile moment, with Romero and with the club by asking him about, he sort of phrased it like, if you were to be gone, at a different club one day, where would that be,
Jack, Romero is experienced enough to know what he's doing, right? He's not an 18-year-old who hasn't dealt with the press before. And he didn't say anything that we didn't know anyway. So honestly, his comments weren't a surprise to me. It's just the timing was an issue. So again, great player when he wants to be, but he, mentally he's checked out, doesn't want to be here, and I don't want to have players on the team who don't want to be here. So him, I want him gone. I want Madison gone, but that's a different conversation.
Well,
Do you
to you.
think
Oh yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, just quickly as well, Eugene. Do you back this club to replace him properly? Because it took us a while to get to the point of Romero and Van de Ven. And look, I do think under a different manager, I do think you would see that defense probably perform a lot better than what it is to a large degree. But like my fear is like, you said you think Romero is one of our best players in the squad, and I sort of agree with you. And we can't keep getting into selling our best players, and more so we don't back this ownership to replace it adequately. We'll end up buying once, twice, 3 times, 4 times before you even stumble upon someone else that's good enough to come into that back line. And that's where my concern comes in. I get maybe we don't like the comments, but I think maybe we're not looking at it from Romero's point of view that he's seeing a sinking ship right now. And, if you're a good player like him, who's won World Cups, won Copa Americas, you are going to get out. As soon as you look at the summer transfer window and go, right, who's coming in to help me win trophies? And you see the summer transfer window we had up. There's reasons why this guy is getting pissed off. And it's just like, leaving to want to go and win trophies and have ambition is not a bad thing. It's what all of us fans want. We want to win trophies. We want to have good players on the football pitch. Like we moan about the quality now, especially across the front line. But barely any fans put up any resolve against selling Harry Kane, and I think we're about to make the same mistake here again with Christian Romero to a large degree. That's just my fear of it, and more so, like if we were a club where we could replace our players properly, like Liverpool done when they sold Coutinho, I'd say okay, I'd be more okay with it. But the fact that we don't, that's where I'm very hesitant. That's why I'm more clinging on to the idea you hold on to your best players and you build around it.
2 things on that, Dave. So him being upset about our form in the league, which is understandable, but he's a part of the problem. I mean, he cost us multiple games early on, just him not being focused. So as a leader on the team, as an experienced player, as one of the best players, he needs to be responsible for what we're doing on the pitch. And he let us down not once, not twice, multiple times. So that's one. And second, we don't want to end up in the Ericsson situation where we didn't want to sell him, and then he had, 6 months left, and he went for cheap. We all know that Romero is not going to resign. And if that's the case, I agree with you. The club, I don't trust the club to do anything. But we cannot have him, be here with 1 year left and get 20 million for him. So if he wants to leave, and honestly, it also depends on the manager. I rate Danso. I think he's good defensively. Obviously, on the ball, he's not as good as Romero. But if we have a more defensive manager, maybe we can get a tune out of Danso and Dragoshin, and they're decent enough.
Honestly,
but it's a risk either way.
Honestly, I just wonder when we're going to learn our lessons. We sit here and say about Dragosin, right? We can't make an excuse for the guy. He had a run of 20-odd games in the team, back-to-back, game in, game out, and he was fucking useless. He was atrocious. And then now people are going to come back and say, oh, well, maybe it's the system. Okay, then maybe if you're going to make that case for Dragosin, make the same case for Romero to a certain degree. Have that alleviancy with it. The reality is, Romero has been out injured for so long, but anytime he's back fit, he walks straight in above Danzo, above Dragosin. And for me, that's because the quality of him compared to them guys. Danzo, look, I think we've seen him being dipped in and he's done all right, but we haven't seen him in a longer sample or longer run in the squad to go, do you know what? Yeah, we're okay to let Romero move on. We replaced this guy. And to Phil's point, he says, just because we're scared to move on doesn't mean we shouldn't move on. I understand that, but also, at the same time, you shouldn't move on just because you're butthurt about someone's comments. You gotta take into situation. Is it best for the club to move this guy on? And I'm not being funny, but many people came up with little quotes and phrases like that to me, Philly, about the Harry Kane situation. 6 months down the line, 3 months down the line, when the window was closed, they were all screaming for a striker. And this is what I'm saying. Just because, a player's head might be turned. I mean, Phil, if you were at Tottenham and you were a player in the squad, your head would be turned. If you take out your Tottenham fandom, your head would be turned if someone offered you better wages, trophies, and, you know, guaranteed to compete for trophies and stuff like that. Your head would be turned. But it doesn't mean it's right for Tottenham to let this guy move on. At the end of the day, you know, we built everything we've built to keep our best players, to pay them the best wages, to match Real Madrid. It's what we were told when we sacrificed 3 windows under Pochettino. That's why we sacrificed back then, so we wouldn't be in these situations. And here we are yet again from the Harry Kane one, and we're not learning from it. And that's my biggest concern. Anyone else on the panel?
Yeah, let's bring some others in. Brad, I mean, you were in second, so do you have any strong feelings about Romero right now?
I mean, what he said, probably he shouldn't have said it, but, you know, people say things at certain times. He's a good player. If his head's been turned, he doesn't want to stay here, then I don't think we've got any option than to sell him. But
Isn't that just a tap out, though, Brad? Because at the end of the day, right, he's got 2 years left on his contract. Well, if we actually go out and approach this summer with a bit of fucking gusto and bring in players, and the player looks at it and goes, these guys actually can help me towards where I want to be, that can change your mind.
This is going to be my next point. I'm in with what you were saying, Dave, about, you know, you don't trust us to spend the 80 million or whatever on getting a replacement for him. I'm fully with you on that, fully with you. But that's the problem, you see. We've got a World Cup winner here, who's a top defender. We all know that. And he's come to a club that, quite honestly, and I hate saying this, I've been a Spurs supporter all my life, but in the last few weeks, this club's become a bit of a joke. And, you know, apart from peak Pochettino, the last 2 seasons we had at White Hart Lane, we've never been in with a chance of winning anything. You know, the League Cups, let alone the league. You know, and I think if you're a World Cup winner and you get promised all this stuff and suddenly you think, oh, what the hell's going on here? And I seriously, I was saying this to friends last night, I think this club needs a total change. You know, we need new owners. We need owners that are going to pay the money, pay the top wages, pay the top money for good players. But at the moment, why would you come here? And I think it's the same with Romero. He's probably seen... I mean, he was here. Wasn't he signed under Nuno?
Romero.
Yeah, under Nuno. Nuno's first season.
He's seen... And we're all presuming here...
We're seen 4 different managers.
Yeah, we're all presuming here that Ange goes in the summer. I think he'll either resign or it'll be a mutual agreement. If we go. So he's playing under Nuno, Mourinho... Oh, no, Nuno was after Mourinho, wasn't he? He's played under Nuno, Conte... And Chicago, he must be thinking in the space of his contract, you know.
Yeah.
And how close have we come to winning anything in that time? All right,
Romero's the problem. Work that one out.
Yeah. It's so I'd love him to stay. Don't get me wrong, but we've got to give him a reason to stay. You know, we really have, and that's the issue with him. But yeah, it's that. Do you keep the player, or do you have a player that wants to get out? I don't know. It's you want all your players playing for the team. I think
there's a lack of understanding. The only reason why some of these players want to get out is because of how much of a mess we're in. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. You know, it's madness.
Yeah, I mean, you could. The other thing I think is to say is that unless Harry Kane, I think it's a different kettle of fish because he's Spurs born and bred. He was. But players like Romero's got no loyalty to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, as any of the other players have that haven't got any sort of connections with them.
It seems like fans want him to have that loyalty. Is that too much to ask, or is?
No, don't get me wrong. I have been a little bit cynical about when he has been injured and then suddenly he plays for Argentina and then he got back from injury and said, thank you to the Argentinian doctors, this sort of thing. Yeah, I'm a bit cynical about that, definitely, but yeah, it's you can't loyalty just comes with you can't force someone to be loyal to a club, unfortunately. But yeah, I'd love him. Don't get me wrong. I'd love him to sign a new contract. I think also another thing with Romero is he might be waiting until to see who the next manager is, because he's obviously one of the players. I think Ange has still got the players. I think the players are still behind Ange, and I think Romero has come out and said he's behind Ange. So maybe he's just waiting to see what happens there. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. Look, don't get me wrong. Top defender. I'd like to him to sign a new contract. But you know, if you've got to give him a reason for doing that. And at the moment, I can't see him or any other top player or even top manager. Why? And I hate saying this. I really hate saying this. Is a club, you know, that my dad sort of handed down to me, if you like, that I've supported since 1968. You know, I've seen about, all right, I haven't seen us win the title, but I've seen us win cups, you know, and European cups, this sort of thing. And it was always, you know, we were the ones that the first £100,000 footballer, less a pound, the first £200,000 footballer we bought, the first £2 million footballer we bought. We were leading in a lot of these things, but now look at us. You know, I suppose we're going to talk about, oh, we need to sell or buy. Really? You know, so I don't know. I'm very, I'm ironically, I'm actually confident about getting to the final of the Europa League, but yeah, I'm very disappointed about how this club's going at the moment.
Just quickly, we'll take Shawnee Maddox's comments here, and then we'll let Daniel and Dermot in. We've got Jerome in the background, and then also while we're talking about players leaving, Bentancur has also been linked with Atletico Madrid today, so we'll get people's thoughts on that. I mean, if we're selling all of our good players, I hope people double down and say they want to sell Bentancur as well, because I mean, where does it stop? You know, there's plenty of reasons to sell him as well. He hasn't been available for how many years, so I wonder if people are going to be consistent on that. But to Shawnee Maddox's point here, he says, you don't believe in recruitment. Difference. I don't believe in Johan Lang recruitment. Stop making such a broad statement, Sean. I've consistently said I don't believe in Johan Lang's recruitment. I like Paratici's recruitment. And at the end of the day, we have a chance to be able to sack that fraud and bring in someone else and try and get it right. And I would rather take that chance rather than give Daniel Levy another 80 million to piss about. With like he done with the 100 million with Harry Kane, because the thing is, when everyone was saying to me, "Sell Harry Kane, we get 100 million," everyone thought we were going to spend that right, and we didn't. But yet we're here making the same mistakes, and I'm concerned. So to your point, Sean, if you already learned we didn't sell the Harry Kane money right, why do you want to make the same mistake? You come back to me with an answer. How about that? But look, let's keep it moving. Daniel, do you want to have your say?
Well, I'm just going to keep it real quick. But after that interview, that's when I was like, you're sitting in our training ground, contract for our club, and you're giving an interview like that. That's when I was like, okay, no, I can't deal with that. Even though I rate him, I like him. But after that, for me, he needs to go. Or I don't think we can keep him anyway, you know.
No, look,
it's
fair enough.
The fact that he did do it at the training ground is
yeah,
your issue.
you're sitting there. The club is like, okay, I'm gonna do an interview with this guy. Yeah, sure. Yeah, come on, we invite you. Do you want some biscuits? Do you want some tea, coffee? What do you want? Do you want everything? Yeah, sure. And then it's like, yeah. Well, oh no, he could have just said, well, I'm contracted to this club at the moment, but maybe in the future, I want to go to La Liga or something. And he's like, no, I want to go to La Liga. I don't rate that. I don't like it. So,
yeah, no, look, 100%. And Dermo, what's your thoughts on the Romero situation? And then we'll get everyone in on Bentancur.
If he wants to go, he can go. Just let him go.
You're about to make the same mistake as well. You are.
Look,
I'm fed up.
Fair enough.
No, but go on, continue your point. I'm just saying you're about to make the same mistake, but continue your point. Hello?
Think you frustrated him. Maybe Dave, I'm not sure. Dermot's not saying anything. Jerome, did you have anything strong feelings on Romero before we get to some other topics here about the nature of the interview and him wanting to leave?
Look, he made his mind very clear, all right? He said it many times. This club has no ambition. He said it himself. This club has zero ambition. Now, if he wants to leave, everybody's on his back. I'm sorry. If he wants to leave, he leaves. Because he's not going to stay in a club that has zero ambition, has no intention of winning anything. And why would he stay here? It's the same thing with Harry Kane. Harry Kane wanted to win things. It's not Tottenham. Tottenham doesn't win anything. So why are we blaming Romero for wanting to leave and go to La Liga? I'm sorry, there's nothing to blame him for that. As much as everybody's angry about it, I don't blame him. Because this club doesn't win anything. We have zero ambition whatsoever. So what's the point?
Sounds like you're kind of similar to what Brad was saying, to a degree.
Yeah, but just one thing, comparing him to Kane. Kane carried us for
I'm
years
not
and years and
comparing
years.
him to Kane, but
So he can say
it's going to be a like for like similar situation. People honestly forget how bad our defense was before he rocked in here.
But I mean, Kane was the sole reason why we were competitive for years and years. So when Kane says we have no ambition, he wants to leave, I get it. Romero, again, this season, he's partly responsible for the mess that we're in. Under Conte, he complained, about Conte's style. So again, top player, top talent. But him saying that we have no ambition and wanting to leave, he hasn't earned the right to act the way he does. Kane has, Romero has not. That's my point.
No, look, I take the point, but people didn't make that point at the time when we were selling Harry Kane. People said, well, he hasn't won us trophies, this, that, and the other. That was the argument people were making. They say the same with Romero. What's he winning for us? At the end of the day, it's not about one player. You need a collective of good players. It's not just one player to pull you over the line. And my whole point is, we sold Harry Kane, got that money into the club. What did we do with it? We've sitting here with one of the worst forward lines I've ever watched with Tottenham in my lifetime, and I just think, if we most of us sit here going into the summer saying we want quality, right? Would people agree? Is that what people want this summer?
Yeah.
So if that's what we want, why are we selling the quality? The whole point is you're bringing quality to play with quality.
Romero is a club captain, right? It's part of the leadership group. If you're doing any interview, this is the point I was going to make. If you're making any interview or anything connected with the club, you've got to say the right things. It doesn't matter what your personal views are about the club. It doesn't matter about where you want to go to in your career. You've got to come out and say the right things. Now, if he's sending out signals, I want to play in La Liga in 1 year. Well, I get that's an ambition. But you're club captain, you're part of a leadership group. It's your responsibility to say the right things and perform right on the pitch.
They normally have media training.
If you're there going away and thanking the Argentinian, we all know the Spurs medical team isn't great, but you could say, I want to thank the Spurs medical team and the Argentinian medical team for helping me get back to where I am. I think he's not helping himself in some of the things he's saying. Now, do I want Romero to leave? No, because I think he's a quality defender. And I think if you want to build something, you build it around him, and you build it around the likes of him and Van de Ven. Because they're our next Jan and Toby. They're the best two central defenders we've had since Jan and Toby.
Yeah, agree.
That's right.
But you're getting to a point where Romero is not making it easy for himself by what he's coming out with in the press. So he's sending mixed signals. So if you look at if he's sending a signal like in the Argentina, and then he can come out and quite rightly say, well, I was misquoted. Well, say the proper things first. Nobody's going to give loyalty. Brad hit the nail on the head. Harry Kane, you get loyalty because you come through the system. We expect a little bit of loyalty when you pull on the Tottenham shirt, you pull on that armband, you expect some loyalty towards the club and the fans. Even if you don't believe it, act it. You've got 2 years left in your contract. I'm behind this team. I'm going to see what happens. We're going to go for the Europa League, and let's go from there. If we get Champions League football, all this talk about him going will go away. Because he will stay, because we're in Champions League football next year. That's what any player wants, is Champions League football. And look, I love Romero. I think he's a bit of a hothead. I think he's he can be a little bit irresponsible at times. But if we're going to make the same mistake again with Harry Kane, I think if a player doesn't want to be there, do you just keep him there for the sake of being there?
It's not about him not wanting to be here, right? It's about the reasons why they want to move on. And the reasons is because they want to be ambitious, they want to go and win trophies, and they want to play with better players. So that's what we all want for Tottenham Hotspur. So we should be asking the club, or at least demanding, especially since we spent 3 transfer windows without any signings under Pochettino, which he could have done with the kick on, by the way, and probably would have won trophies, to get to the point so we could build the stadium so that we could compete with the best clubs in Europe and have the best players here. And that's what everybody is missing. That's the demise. They sold the stadium to us Spurs fans. And why they got people like me's patience over the time. But since then, now I'm seeing our best players walk out of the club for reasons that they can get paid better at the bigger clubs. They can go and play with better players around them. And by playing with better players, you can go and win trophies. It's what we want at Tottenham. So my point is, we should be at Tottenham gearing ourselves to keeping these guys happy, because at the end of the day, they're the guys that you should be wanting to keep happy, not the likes of your fucking Ben Davies and players like that who are okay with backup roles and that at this club with not a lot of ambition.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing in the fan base, and this is just in general, honestly, people put up more points to try and save Lo Celso's Tottenham career than they did Harry Kane. And I'm sorry, but that's fucking that's disgusting. And this is where we're missing the point.
Or maybe more with Lo Celso than Romero.
A player's barely ever available. Everyone will sit here and make all the excuses. Oh, let's give him another chance for this reason, for that reason, and everything else. But as soon as one of our big players have ambitions of leaving this club to go and win something, by the way, look at the long, extensive list of players that have left this club to go on and win things, and we're still sitting here trophyless. We sit here and we get butthurt by it. But we shouldn't be, as fans, for the benefit of the football club.
You know what worries me, Dave?
We should be backing the player and saying, club, he has ambition, fucking match it. Because we all sit here every day of the week on our podcasts and everything else saying the club have no ambition, this, that, and the other. But the minute someone at the club does have ambition, we go, walk away, please, walk away. It's madness.
You know what worries me, David, is the fact that we have got some really good young players. And I think in Bergvall, we've got a gem there, an absolute gem. But I worry that we'll lose him at some stage. Not now, but I'm talking in 2, 3, 4 years down the track. Because if we're still in that same position and he's suddenly playing like he's been playing this season, and you get Real Madrid knocking on the door or whoever it might be, I think we might lose him as well. So that's what really worries me, the amount of young players we've got, which we should be adding quality to and experience to. I just really worry that we'll lose them. But We've lost a lot of players in recent years, in recent seasons. I remember one season when Robbie Keane and Berbatov scored 50 goals between them. And we sold them.
And then, do you know what? We blamed Wendy Ramos the next season and sacked him because he couldn't get the squad going and he was down in the relegation zone. And we blamed Wendy Ramos, even though they sold the source of goals.
Exactly, yeah. So we sold, remember Carrick? Michael Carrick was suddenly on top of the world. We sold him. Yeah,
we sold them all to Manchester United.
Yeah.
Look, back then I could understand it. Back then I could understand it to a certain degree, because the whole point was to create as much revenue as we can to build a stadium and build a training complex so that we could become an elite superpower in football and match them in terms of ambition, in terms of money and everything else. So back then I could understand that to a certain degree, but I can't get with it now. Not with the revenues they're making.
Yeah, exactly. We're miles ahead of a load of other clubs on revenue, getting revenue in and the various revenue streams. And now they're saying about we've got to sell to buy. I mean, really? You
know what, Brad? I'd rather White Hart Lane and the championship winning side than the spanking new stadium and the shit we've been watching.
Yeah,
I really would.
I think we all would.
I really would.
But I think the potential is we would rather, I mean, the stadium itself would, if we had a winning team, would be amazing. We saw the atmosphere in the last European game. Can you imagine if we are, like yesterday, Liverpool going for the title, where all the fans are there? If we were doing that, we would have the stadium, and suddenly the stadium should be a fortress.
They didn't have to build a spanking new stadium. They spent the right money on the team. They spent the money wisely and correctly. They didn't have to rebuild Anfield and promise us a dream. This is the next step. This is not the next step. We're going back to where we were in the 90s. We got absolutely humiliated yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time this season we've been humiliated in every game.
It's embarrassing, Dermot.
It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
And I think you, me, Brad are old enough to remember, we're both old enough to remember when we won the UEFA Cup. And that was and that was a full of captains. Then side, every player backed each other.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was like watching a bunch of 11 individuals who have never played together before to give up after the second goal. Can't be asked.
Yeah. You guys remember?
This is where this new stadium bollocks for me. I think I'd rather White Hart Lane give us a quality team to go for trophies, to go for leagues, put all the money into that instead of buying a a stadium where you can get more fans in and you can do more concerts and boxing. I don't care. I just want the team that's going to win something.
I think the problem was, Dermot, was that the idea behind it was good intention. Because we've had a lot of season ticket holders on the waiting list and this sort of thing. And if you can get 60,000 people in there, and you get more revenue, and you have concerts, blah 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 blah. The idea was brilliant. The problem is they've never really used it. It's never been. All of the wonderful things we've got from it, nothing's happened.
Well, yeah, we were sold a dream with the stadium that it would deliver the amazing team, that it would deliver the quality players, right?
It's just to wrap up on Romero, real quick. So, Dave, I don't think anyone here is arguing with you about us needing to keep the best players, but there is what we want and the reality. We all want to keep Romero, but the reality is,
but I didn't ask you the reality. I asked you your opinion, though. That's the big difference. I think the reality is, he's obviously making sounds because, he knows what he's doing to a certain degree. Now, that could be one of two ways. He could be looking to use that as contract leverage to Tottenham to feel like he's getting paid what he's earned, or he could be trying to engineer and move out of the club. But that's the reality. That's not what I asked people. I asked your opinion on what do you want, what do you think we should do with Romero. If people want to choose to sell him, then you are arguing with me to make the point to sell him.
No, I'm arguing my reasoning is I would rather get 70 million for him than let him walk for free or get 15 million for him with 6 months left. The reality is that this club is not going to show ambition. We cannot keep our best players. Bergval is going to leave in 2-3 years to Madrid or Barcelona.
Is that not giving up then? What are we doing here for giving up?
Well, exactly. But that's unfortunately, that's the way it is. So specifically on Romero, yes, in the perfect world, we want to keep him. He's a great player on his day. But either we sell him now or he walks for free, or it's going to be the Christian Eriksen situation. And that's the only reason why I'm saying sell him.
But at the end of the day, I know we don't like to compare ourselves to Arsenal, but we are the next Arsenal. We've been told to move to a new stadium. We're going to be competing with the best of the best. But look at us now. We are falling apart. We are falling down the pecking order. The best players are leaving. We're getting worse players every year and year. So we are like them. Unless something drastic happens to wake up the owners and tell them invest in this football club, we are not going to do anything. It's going to be the same. We're going to be losing our best players, and we are going to be investing in mediocre ones. That's all it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. Unless something drastic, unless somebody comes from, I don't know, some Qatari comes in and says we're going to invest in this club and say, look, take care of the business, we take care of the football side, nothing's going to change. Because it's simple with them. If the wages keep going up, they will not buy players. They can spend 65 million, 85 million on somebody. It doesn't matter to them. Because the thing is the wages. If the football player wage is too high, that's straight in their expenses. And that's like, no. For Daniel Levy, it'd be like, no, we can't. It's going to look really bad on our financial. And that's why he always go and spend a lot on a young player, but the wages for the young player is really low. So it doesn't really matter.
Do you remember Mane?
So what's the point?
Do you remember Mane at Liverpool?
Yeah.
What such a brilliant player he was. We were in for him when he was at Southampton. He went to Liverpool because they were paying more money, wages.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the issue is that we don't see them breaking that cycle anytime soon. And it's just, we're trying to problem solve, and also just waking ourselves up to just trying to break that thinking. Like, we shouldn't accept that that's the way it's going to be, or that's the way that Spurs are, because if that's the way we're going to be, we're just going to continue to be in the same position. We have to just raise the points to that Spurs need to try to break that mentality and try to break that system, because it's put us in the position that we are in now. And we can't just accept it. Because if we do, then we'll continue to slip and slip.
But there's a club mentality and there's a mentality on the pitch. And again, the biggest issue with Romero and Maddison and such is that on the pitch, our leaders and our team lay down every single time, right? So I know we have issues with the club. That's a different conversation. But Romero, he hasn't he showed the talent, but he hasn't shown the leadership and the mentality to drag this team forward. And same with others. So we need those players who actually can do that. And
what I would say is, look at Romero after the Frankfurt game when he came back, when all the players were coming down. I don't know if you saw that video, but all the players were coming down inside. They are all like smiling, but look at Romero's face. He's the one that was screaming and really showed that that win meant really something for him. That's when I saw the real Romero, the winner Romero. Because after that win at Frankfurt, only him, he's the one that went on the door and hit on that door and screamed like crazy. Because that win meant so much for him. All the players were just laughing for the camera and smiling and making like silly faces. But Romero, he was looking straight. And that was meaning to him, that win meant so much. And that's where I saw like, this is the winner Romero that we need.
But that's
one game, winning means more to him than wages, or
that's one game. That's the issue.
It could also be why he's not signing a contract at the moment, because maybe he's looking at what happens on Thursday. And as you say, Europa League, winning that gets you Champions League football. Maybe that he might also, that might turn him.
Also, it could be waiting. Why I've got years on my contract? Why do I have to sign one now? Why can I not sign it next season during my last year of my contract?
He's not the only one that sort of sort of takes a lot of time. I mean, look at Salah, Mo Salah, and Van Dijk have been
waited till the very last minute.
Yeah.
But Salah never comes out and says, "I want to play in Spain" or this and that. So it's.
Well, he was flirting with, the likes of Saudi. He was flirting with Saudi last summer.
He was. Yeah. Was definitely flirting as well.
I think he was saying some similar things.
But he kept saying like, his contract was not sure. Or
but Saudi is the money situation versus the ambition, right? Saudi is like, okay, I want to get paid, versus this team is not good enough. This club is not good enough. I want to go and play for Spain or in Spain, which is true for, I'm sure, every single player would want to play for Madrid. But again, as a leader, you just don't actually say that.
I mean, I don't think he said that part that you were suggesting. He was like, "Oh, well, Spurs don't win anything here, so I'm leaving." Like, that wasn't what he was saying. He's just saying he wants to, if he. And again, I think there was a very pointed question to try to get some type of answers that they could rile us up in the manner that we are in now. Like, it was very clever by the journalist to phrase it that way. If anybody has any final thoughts on it,
just quickly, Destiny's comment here. I mean, again, many people have said the same when we were selling Harry Kane. Who benefited from us? Who benefited from the move? Harry Kane or Tottenham Hotspur? So you can keep coming out with quick-witted comments like this, but at the end of the day, it means nothing. Let's actually deal on what he actually does with for Tottenham Hotspur, what he offers, how he plays, and stuff like that. Not just fresh air quotes like that. And I like you, Destiny. I respect you. We had a good chat about home farm and stuff like that. But honestly, that comment is just a nonsense comment, because it's nothing to do with Tottenham Hotspur, whether it benefits us or not.
I pander over a lot of women that don't want me, so.
I want to ask you a question, Dave, right? I want to ask you a question on Romero, right? Yeah. And Jack as well, maybe to you two. Is Romero's, all this talk about him wanting to move, is that down to this season, or is it down for where he's been under 3 different managers? What do you think it's down to? What do you think what the root of the problem is with Romero at the moment?
Well, you got to remember, right? Romero came here as Italian Serie A Defender of the Year, which, I mean, you don't win if you're a bad defender. Radu Dragusin didn't even win that, but people will still promote Radu Dragusin ahead of Romero. Absolutely nonsense. But not only that, when you look at Romero, you got to remember, he's also walking into an Argentina dressing room where most of them are at clubs winning stuff. They're all on big, massive contracts, and he's walking in there. I remember Spurs players, Danny Rose, saying the same thing. We're walking into the England camp. We're all on this amount of money. And you got players on this, they're challenging for this and that. It turns your mind, and and then in Romero's case, he's won a World Cup. He's won 2 Copa Americas. He's got the hunger for trophies. He wants to go and win. What would influence his decision are a number of things. A, having to fight for what he's worth. The reality is he's the third highest paid player at the club underneath Son. Now, they didn't offer Son a new contract because they don't want to break that 200k a week barrier. That's why they will end up selling Romero, because they're not going to want to break that 200k a week barrier. But Romero also shouldn't have to sit there and fight for what he's worth. You know, when he looks at the transfer window and says, okay, I've got the hunger to win trophies, what are we signing this summer? You see Bergvall, Gray, Solanke, people like that walking the door. Nowhere near matches your ambitions. You know, then you also go through the amount of managers, the turnover, you know, the amount of different coaching staff that he's had and stuff like that. All of that will play a factor in him wanting to move on to a club that has ambitions the same as him, that wants to go and compete. If you've got someone in your ear going, look, come here, we're going to slot you in here, and our ambition is to win trophies and this and that and the other. If you're not a Tottenham fan, you're going to go. And the reality is this notion is Romero overrated? I'll put that to bed straight away. Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid don't come in for you if you're a bad defender. So anyone that wants to have that conversation, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid are just proving you wrong straight off the bat.
Yeah.
But again, every single player on most teams, if they have a choice to go to Atletico, Barca, or Real, are going to go. Right. The question is why.
Well, you don't get that choice if you're a bad player or a bang average player.
No, I agree. Nobody's saying he's a bad player, but all I'm saying is, you know, as a captain, you need to be responsible for the performance, for your performance and team's performance. And I just feel like the mentality, you know, him being a winner, but the way he's been carrying himself this season, it's not even just the comments. Like I said before, it's everything. Performance, comments. If he doesn't want to be here, unfortunately, there is nothing that we can do, right? I want people here or players here who want to be here.
Could you not make the same case then when it comes to Daniel Levy? Because no one makes the same case for ownership. He's been flirting when meeting up with people to sell the club, but no one makes that case when it comes to him. If you don't want the club, fucking sell it. No one makes that case with Daniel Levy. So if you're going to take that with a player, then it should be the same for everybody throughout the club, right? But no one makes that case, and that's where the indiscretions come in.
Yeah, but where I disagree is like football is a team sport, right? You can't just blame one player to say, look, his performance and what he says on the pitch is not the same. Because if you're left on the field with someone like a Ben Davies, oh my God, what would you do here? Your mind would be, I need to protect this guy at any cost, or else something worse is going to happen. Because if you have like a defender of like the likes of Ben Davies next to you, or you have like a kid in front of you, like what is he meant to do? Like there's nothing much that the guy can do. All right, his mind is all over the place. He's bound to make mistakes as well, and that's going to affect his performance. If you have quality players in front of him, he will focus on his football more, and he's just going to do his thing. What we've done right now is we left Romero when Van der Ven gets injured. We left him with Dragusin, he's an average player, or he's left with Ben Davies, or he's left at the front with Bissouma, who's prone for mistake after mistakes. So what is the guy meant to do? He can't do anything. He's not a miracle worker, so he can't be focusing on every single spot on the pitch. So that's the only thing he can do, and he's going to make mistake as well because he can't focus on his football. He has to focus on the other teammates as well. So you can't blame him for everything.
Against the Wolves, like against Arsenal, like he's just making. That's a good point, and I agree with you. He has to cover for everybody else, but just the number of mistakes, silly individual mistakes he's been making is inexcusable for a player of his caliber. And again, call me crazy, but if you tell me Romero, like somebody like Dan Burn, like an old school defender who plays, who's available every single time. The issue with Romero and Van der Ven, which is my worry, is they're only available half the season.
Is that not a Tottenham issue though, rather than just them? Like it's like you can pull them out. Richarlison, Bentancur, Destiny Adogi. Right. You know, the list goes on with injuries and players that are out for a long time. Like we could sit here and say, he's barely ever available. You can make that case, but the majority of the players, Dom Solanke was never injured before coming here. He suffered 2 injuries this season. I mean, that's an argument you can make with every player. And again, this is a thing. can make it an end player, but it's more of a Tottenham issue. And it wasn't just Romero that, by the way, someone said it earlier on, came out and, praised the Argentina, physio department and didn't praise Tottenham. I mean, I'm not going to praise someone that didn't help me or aid my recovery, first of all. But second of all, Van de Ven came out and praised, various other people, not the Tottenham medical department. And so has Richarlison. He's come out and praised the Brazil. What we're seeing is common theme from players. And it's clear then from the outset, just looking at that message, is that there's a problem within the medical department. We had injuries under Conte as well, where players in that were injured. This isn't just a them problem. It's a Tottenham problem.
Right. But regardless, Dave, of whose fault it is, Romero, he has a chronic quad issue, I believe. So it's not going to go away. It needs to be managed. So we know he'll be missing time. Van der Ven, again, regardless of our medical team that's shambles, he has a chronic hamstring issue. He'll be missing time. So our two best defenders will be missing, 30, 40% of all the games every single season. And that's an issue. We cannot have 4 top defenders. That's just not the way this club works. So
I just wonder if I'm not trying to, support, say our medical staff are brilliant, because they're obviously not, but maybe it's a situation where with Van der Ven that he's had to seek specialist help on a hamstring. So our medical staff, I would imagine there's no specialist people in there. They're just basic medical people. So I think with someone like Van der Ven, who is obviously, it's a historical injury. He had it at the Dutch club before he came to Tottenham. So I think in his case, they had to seek specialist help. Romero, well, I mean, he said the Argentinian. I don't know whether that's specialist help, but certainly in Van der Ven's case, I think that was a specialist help that he sought.
Yeah. Look, fair, but the point still stands. So many players come to Tottenham and suffer long-term injuries. It's when we're talking about Romero, people bring up, but look at his injuries. I mean, you could make the case for every fucking player at Tottenham. It's that bad. You know what I mean? you like, if you're going to use it as a case to say sell Romero, then you've got to make sure that no one else is suffering the same problem. Then you can say, yeah, that's just a him issue.
I think Sessegnon had never been injured, had he, when he came to Tottenham? Or did he come with a hamstring? I think he might have had a hamstring injury actually when he.
Yeah, but look at Sessegnon now at Fulham.
Yeah,
he's playing every week. He's not injured. With us, he was injured every single week. He played 2 games. His hamstrings was gone. So look at him now.
Like a fever dream. Jesus Christ.
Like Dave says, it is a Tottenham problem. It's definitely a Tottenham problem. It's nothing to do with the player or something. It's a problem inside the club.
Anyway, we got this from Levy Towers, says show ambition and our players don't leave. Simple. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of it. We wouldn't even be in this situation if we showed ambition in the transfer windows. Like, that's a part of the big problem. Levy Towers, you're absolutely spot on. We wouldn't even have to have this conversation.
I mean, no, of course not.
But just one final point: has our board or our owners ever come out with what our plans are? Because Manchester United, who you could argue have had as bad a season as we have come out when they talk about the new stadium that they're getting built. Have come out and said our ambition is to win the Premier League in the next within 5 years. They've actually come out and said that. Yeah. I don't think our club have ever said that.
No, our club is like, our total revenue is this, our profit for this year is this. This is what we are planning to do for next year, building a hotel, building this and doing that. It's nothing to do with football. We are a business. We act like a business. We are definitely a business. We're not a football club anymore.
Like, don't get me wrong, right? I understand that, business comes with football nowadays. That comes hand in hand. One hand sort of washes the other. But, where I sort of thought, don't understand it is surely the business side should be to maximize the football inside. That should be the whole intention of it. And, to a degree, some would say, well, we don't spend beyond our means, but, do we do the best of what we spend? Do we spend it wisely and stuff like that? The changeover of managers, director of footballers, internal staff, coaching staff, players, fucking board directors. It's clear we're not spending it wisely. It's clear we're pissing money down the drain, and that can't keep continuing.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Well, hopefully the new CEO does something. Be nice.
Well, this is it, isn't it? This is it. I mean, I can't find the quote. I looked for it the other day. There's a Greek quote from the Greek times, and it's basically saying that every time all the management come together and say, we're going to do this now. We're going to do this. We're going to get this person to do that. And this person to do that. We're going to rearrange this, rearrange that. And the only reason they do that is to make you think that something's going on within the fact they haven't got a clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
Did we feel comfortable transitioning to the Bodo Glimt game at all? Like maybe my first question is going to be.
I need to get my dinner, but I want to talk about the Bodo. Or
Well,
Frodo Gimli, as I call it, the Middle Earth.
No, look, let's not start slagging them off because we could potentially be.
No, you better not, because
I don't want to get fake, Brad.
We'll put Daniel in big trouble here. He's the closest.
No,
to
dude, you don't worry. Don't worry. I know. Don't worry. But yeah, you can say whatever.
Go on, Brad. What were you going to say?
Yeah, Brad, what's
okay.
your thoughts on
Well,
Bodo?
let's be. I mean, look, I'm just being funny for the sake of it, but
Yeah.
look, we mustn't underestimate them. They went to Lazio. Lazio got back in the game and took the lead in extra time, but they still came back to 3-3 and won a penalty shootout. So they're no mugs, and they're a decent team. There's no doubt about that. But I read today that they've got about 6 players that'll be missing on Thursday night because of injury or suspension, including one of the best players. So. Look, it's going to be difficult at their ground. Don't get me wrong, but you look on Thursday night. I mean, they used to play near the Arctic Circle, I believe, Daniel. They're
Above the Arctic.
It's predicted to be 26, 27 degrees on Thursday here.
Beautiful.
So there was
Yeah,
a time for us.
It's only...
They're not used to that, and they're going to be in the 60,000 people. So I think we can put this tie to bed in the first leg, and. I'm normally not very confident about Tottenham, but I just have a feeling that we're gonna thump them on.
Do you think we have to, Brad?
I think we do. Yeah, I'd hate to go to their ground with anything other than a free goal lead at least.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
To be honest, for me,
I completely agree with Brad. Actually, I think we're gonna smash them at home. To be fair, I think we're gonna do if we do, because I don't know how big our pitch are. How big is our pitch really? Like, is it the biggest pitch in Europe or something?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, one of the widest.
I think they're going to struggle with that. That's first of all. So
I think
we need to win at least 4-0.
Yeah,
4-0.
Yeah,
that's what we need to do, because going on their pitch, we are going to struggle.
Yeah.
Big time.
Imagine Brennan Johnson in Bodo. Fucking hell.
Yes, exactly.
That's my prediction.
We are going to be struggling.
Who thought I'd ever come out with a 4-0 prediction for a Spurs game, but I'm making that prediction.
I hope so. Look.
Sorry, Brad.
No, we have to.
My friend.
We definitely have to, because we don't have a choice right now. Because to me, all of this Bodo Glimt thing reminds me of Dinamo Zagreb. Comfortable winning at home 2-0, and then they smash us 3-0 at home. So that thing reminds me of Zagreb. So if we need to be destroying them 4-5-0 at home, because we are missing most of their players, and then we go there, and then we'll see. Because if we're not going to go on a big score, I'm worried to go there. I mean, I'm very worried to go there.
Is that also because of our defense, Jerome? Just the leakiness of
the pitch, the defense, the pitch, because those players, they are like living room players. As soon as they go on a pitch that doesn't look right, they mess up. They mess up big time. So
I played with some snotty golfers
pitch.
before, where they kind of sort of roll their eyes at a bad golf course, and then they sort of behave that way. I know exactly what you mean. I might have cut across somebody there. Yeah, it was Dave. I could have.
Yeah, no, sorry. Just the thing is as well with cut runs, you need a bit of luck along the way. I'd argue we probably rolled our luck Frankfurt away to a certain degree, with the way the penalty came about and stuff like that, But that's an anomaly. Our away form in general is absolutely piss poor, So for me, I don't want to take that chance with the game being in the balance again. I do agree with the guys. I think the plastic pitch, I think everyone will understand now. I think everyone plays a bit of Astro and has played on a grass pitch before. Everyone knows it's a different game. Bounce of the ball is different. The ball travels a lot quicker. You can't really make slide tackles unless you want to open up your legs. Stuff like that. It's a complete different game. So, and look, don't get me wrong. We do have artificial pitches at Tottenham that we could train on ahead of the game, but training on it and trying to replicate a game is two different things. And I think going out there, playing against a team that has played on it for how many years, Daniel? Probably more than over a decade, if not longer out there.
Yeah, no, it's been,
I mean, they're so well used to it. Them players will know every little fucking, area of that pitch and stuff like that. So for me, and it's one of them, if we concede early, it's going to be a long, long afternoon. And recently we have been conceding early. So for me, I think we've got to use the width of our home pitch, stretch the play, get the ball out wide, pull them out, and then look to just put balls in the box, ask the question, corner kicks, just make sure your deliveries are spot on, free kicks, just put them under so much intense pressure, knock on the door, do them at home, and then go away from home. Just sit 11 men behind the ball.
Yeah, pretty much.
And let's face it, they could have beaten Lazio 4 or 5-0.
Lazio struggled there. They struggled big time on that pitch. They did struggle.
They're going to come in. They're going to park the bus. And when was the last time when we scored 2-3 goals against a low block? I don't recall. So call me negative, but I just feel like we don't have the quality to score against low blocks. I don't think they're going to be trying to score at all. They're just going to go in, park the bus. And we've been struggling against low blocks forever. So there's no way I see 3-4-0. Like, we just don't do it.
Do you think so? It'll be different to Frankfurt, where like Frankfurt, they locked up shop against us when we were at home, but then in the second leg, they looked to kind of spring onto us. So you think it'll be similar with Bodo?
It depends on the result in the first leg, but I just don't. Again, I could be negative. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't see us unlocking the low block and scoring more than 1 or 2 goals, unlastly.
I actually understand what Eugene is saying there. I think, we got to remember who we are and what we've witnessed this season. Large parts under Ange tenure, even last season, we struggled against teams that sat people behind the ball, and Eugene is absolutely spot on. The only thing I would maybe caveat that to a certain degree with, I'm not going to go push back on it, is the fact that Richarlison and Solanke over the last 2 games have shown the ability to be able to get on the end of it with their head. And I just wonder, could that be a little bit of a factor for us? But I fully understand. I'm not sure it'd be 3-4, and it might get 2 at a stretch. But I do agree with Eugene. I can't see 3 or 4. I think, Dermo, you wanted to come in there as well?
Yeah, just very quickly. Look, I think the crowd will be behind us.
As long as you want, lad.
No, it's all right. I think the crowd will be behind us. I think the players will hopefully be up for it. I just think I agree with there will be 4-0 win. I think we're going to pump them. I really do feel we're going to pump them, because we're not going to win away. There's no way, because now we're not luck. We'll probably lose there 4-3 or something, get through, and they'll on one odd goal. No, we're not luck. But I think it's so important that we don't concede early in this game. We've had a habit conceding early in games, and we need to not concede. Yeah. And it's called, and I'm so glad the away goal is in effect anymore, because that would few games would have really hurted us if we had the away goal. But I keep saying it, and I've said it since the knockout rounds. We beat a Dutch side, we beat a German side on the way to winning the '84 UEFA Cup. We beat a Dutch side and a German side on the way to this semi-final. And I'm holding on to every fucking omen I can find that we're going to go and lift that trophy again. And it's 41 years since Graham Roberts lifted that trophy at White Hart Lane. And I was 7, and there was a 7-year-old Dermatron going around his sit room, absolutely ecstatic. And I'm 48 now, and you're going to have the same 40. I'll probably cry live on stream if we lift that trophy. And I'm being honest, I will cry.
I will cry as well.
I was around my girlfriend's house. I was living in Australia, and this is before the internet and Sky TV and whatever. I found out we won it on the news on the morning. And in sports, Tottenham Hotspur won when I woke up next morning. And in sports, Tottenham Hotspur won the UEFA Cup. That's when I first heard about it.
What a strange time.
I think I will cry on air if we win that trophy.
I think I'll be close to tears as well, because this will be the first trophy that we've won since my father died.
We'll all be in tears.
You've
got to remember, you've got how many years since the Champions League final? Built up anger, frustration, everything else. We fight. You see armpit hairs. You see them arms going up in the air. It's going to bring a tear to even the most hardened
right,
man. Even my dad, like I look at my dad and I think he's one hardy fucker. Even he will cry if we win a trophy. I just know it, because
do you know
you
what,
got to remember,
Dave?
it's the pain, it's the journey, and you're not talking just even 6 years since the Champions League, since we last won a trophy. The journey you've been on, the near misses, everything will come up to the boil, and you would just weep, even if you don't want to. It's going to happen.
I think we'll cry if we got knocked out by Bodo Glimt.
I think
it's happening no matter what.
That's what I'm thinking. Just shut us down.
I almost going to hide, for fuck's sake.
If we do not beat Bodo, shut us down. Like, shut down this club. Like, there is no. But again, just given how we played against Tamworth and lower teams, anybody who parks the bus against us, we just don't have the players to score more than a goal or two. So I can see 1-0, and then a squeaky bum time. Away.
This is where luck comes into it. I mean, we should have thumped Frankfurt 4-1 at home.
But they attacked us as well. I don't think that they set up in a low block, right?
Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is you just need a little bit of luck.
I just feel
long shots to go in, that sort of thing.
I don't know how you feel, Brad, but I just feel but I just feel we are pumping to somebody. We are a battering to somebody.
That's true, actually. Yeah, we haven't done that.
Some team is going to come up. We're going to give them I think they owe it to us. The players owe it to us, the fans. I think they owe it to themselves. They owe it to Ange, because they've let him down this season. I think some of these players, including Romero, have let this manager down more than one occasion this season, let us down. But we're due to give somebody an absolute pumping. And I wonder if this is the game where we give somebody a punt. If we can win the first leg, and that leaves the second leg null and void, then I think we'll be partying for the next month, because there'll be no stopping us. Because I think then the last 3 Premier League games, Ange will be resting every player.
Oh God!
Between that and the ball game,
we might get a game.
We're not going to get 40 points.
I tell you one thing: we when in 92-93, we scored 45 points and finished 17th. We're 17th, and we're 17th now. We're not even reaching 40 points, and that was the first year under Aussie ID when we had to go. Was it Oldham? Brad, we had to go up to get a win.
Oh yeah, Oldham, because I went. That was about the 4th attempt to get that game played. It'd been called off
it was actually.
Yeah, I was halfway. I got to Euston Station, game being called off, so I found out early. I got halfway there on the coach, had to turn roundabout because the game had been called off. But eventually we got there, and I got home because the coach goes back to Tottenham, so I had to get 2 night buses home. I walked into my house about 5:30 in the morning. Had an hour's sleep and then went to work.
It's like me in Berlin. But if we are going to pump this, go ahead, Daniel.
Just a point I want to make here. It's actually interesting. I didn't realise it too late. The first leg is on this week. The second leg is obviously on the 8th. It's less than 2 weeks to the final.
Yeah, man, it's not going to be like a June, sort of thing or anything like that. No, you're right.
I don't think we'll see Dave and Jack for a week if we get to the final. I think they're so up in the air. They'd be out celebrating. So sorry, lads, we're not doing any streams to the final. We're saving ourselves.
Honestly, the way this season has gone, don't get me wrong, Europa League maybe papering over a lot of the cracks, but I'd rather win it than just end the season and not win it. Do you know what I mean? At the end there, we're going to be piss poor in the Premier League between now and the end of the season anyway. So I'd much rather take the Europa League with me. But also, I want to get to that final, because we booked the Palace game a long, long time ago. I mean, if we don't make that, the atmosphere is going to be absolutely terrible. But if we make that, it's going to make the atmosphere. So for me, for that reason alone, so I'm not going over there. Don't get me wrong, it's essentially a dead rubber. But the mood would be insane if we're in the final.
Yeah. So and the other thing, if we win the final, the last home game of the season is after against Brighton. So we could have the scenario of them going around the pitch with the cup.
People were saying, Brad, that the away fans and the home fans should be doing the lap of honor, not the players after this season as well.
Just quickly, Woodsy. No, look, I think I'm going to try and get out there. I'm not sure if Jack's going to try and get out, but I think I'll try and get out there. Woodsy.
Dave, Daniel, I know you want to say something at some point.
It's in the description below, lad.
I was just going to say about about
Evening.
Bodo actually, Bodo, a little bit is that they have had no rest this season. Basically, the season just started again. The Norwegian league just started again, and they had to. Of course, the Europa League was in between, so they have had no rest. So that's got to be a factor as well. They got to get tired at some point. Yeah.
Is it one town, or is Bodo and Glimt two places?
No, it's one time. It's just Glimt, just a nickname or something. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I thought I saw it once with Bodo and then
Budapest, isn't it? In Hungary, it's split
Don't
into
forget
two.
to bring your toothpaste for the big toothbrush.
No, the city is Bodo. Like that's the name. Just
so we could bring the whole town to the stadium. Then.
Yeah, no,
I think it's 45,000 people, right?
And also, people are traveling up there. Be ready for a culture shock. Like you're gonna get, you got to be ready for you. It's like it's pretty. It's really pretty. It's a very small town. Just get
There's
ready.
not a lot around them villages, is there?
Sorry.
There's not a lot around them villages. Like I watch a lot of stuff like that on YouTube, and there's not a lot in them places.
No, it's a few pubs and a few, but it's just not. If you come from London to up there, it's like what? What is this?
You like that True Detective season 3, or season 4, the Alaska, I
haven't seen that one yet.
What's the Arctic delicacies, Daniel?
And also, but Brad, you talked about the light, the dark.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. It does not get dark. I mean, like 1 o'clock at night. That's when it gets dark now.
Yeah, above the Arctic Circle, it's like 24-hour daylight for a couple of for a few periods of the year for a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, So
what's the beer prices in Norway, Daniel?
Oh yeah, that's expensive. Very expensive.
Yeah,
I can Google it. No, I was just gonna Google it real quick.
If we are gonna, in Jerome's case and Dermot's case, the guys who believe or at least are hoping for a 4-0 kind of win, who do we pick then? For that, what's the personnel? So what's the forward line that you go for? We'll go to you, Jerome, and maybe go to you, Gene.
Forward line?
Yeah, what's the forward line if we are to pump them 4-0?
If you are to pump them, I would go like a 4-4-2, and I put Solanke and Richarlison at the front.
But let's say within what we know Ange would do, like it's usually the 3 up front.
Yeah, so it will be Solanke. Will be Solanke, and then it will be Johnson, and on the left you would have Tell, because Son. I don't think Son will still be ready for that, but you would have the same Tell, Solanke, and on the right Johnson.
Does anyone think we're making a mistake by picking Johnson over Rudiger? Or would anyone?
I thought they both played pretty well, didn't they? When we had them on both wings, I can't remember what the game was.
Forest.
Was it Forest? It might have been before that, but yeah. I mean,
true.
Tell deserves spot because
I don't think Tell should come in. Yeah, it should be Odeberg, Johnson, and Solanke in the front.
No, I put Tell in. I think Tell was showing little glimpses that he's not a bad player.
Just little glimpses, because
to break down the low block, we need somebody who can take their man on, beat their man, and put a cross in. Johnson cannot do that. Johnson is good on the counter against a team that's open, but against tight defensive team, he's useless. So I would go Tell.
Play Spencer right back and then Poirot on the right.
Do you know what? For the home game, I would agree with the Poirot selection. I think the away game, I think you've got to go with Jed Spence and Destiny Dolly. I think you play Pedro Porro, you're opening yourself up for, you're opening yourself up to concede goals left, right, and centre, because their manager will just target him like every other manager has done when we play him. I think for the home game, with the name of the game of going to score goals, I think he's got 3 goals and 8 assists across the campaign, which isn't bad for a fullback. So I can understand the selection at home. Away from home, Ange needs to learn you can't play a Pedro Porro.
Yeah. But ideally, I agree with Jerome. I mean, I think it might be a repeat of the Forest game where we'll be putting in 1,000 crosses into the box.
Yeah.
So having Solanke and Richarlison there would be the way to go, but Ange is not going to do it. So unfortunately,
no, I still don't put one. No, but the thing is, we do the crosses. Let's do them. Let's try the cross. Let's try the 1,000 crosses. That's the only thing we can do right now, because the thing is, with Tell, he's fast, he's good, but his finishing is just lacking. Against Forest, he was just hitting against the players. He was not even trying. Like
Who can finish though? We don't have anybody who can finish. And crossing, we only have Poro who can cross. Nobody else can cross the ball, and nobody else can finish consistently.
Well, Kulu,
So I think
if Kulu plays in the middle, he will be able to cross as well. He's got a good cross with him, Kulu. So look, we could do something. I think we can something. I'm saying like 4-0. I think this is wishful thinking, but to me, this is the only score, the only comfortable score for me to go to Bodo. If we are like 2-0, I'll be still shitting me myself because
I think I just have PTSD from this season. I just don't see us scoring 4 goals against anyone. We could be playing a pub team, and I don't see us scoring 4 goals. So that's just the way. I mean, so I'm just seeing Tamworth, and
I think we have to go with Odebear on Thursday night because with what
Yeah.
Eugene was suggesting of like just taking on the fullbacks, it's a wide pitch. They're going to struggle playing at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. With that wide pitch, you have to have players that are going to be just relentlessly running at their defenders, causing problems, forcing them to have to double up and just bring them out of that shape if they are to play the low block like Eugene is predicting as well.
Yeah.
I think it suits Odebear and it suits Matisse Tell. It's just the question is then, Richarlison or Solanke, they both missed chances, but both of them have scored recently. So which one do you go with there?
Slim picking.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
You don't think it
who,
matters?
as long
Either
as we
one.
score. We have to score. That's the thing. We have to score and
If
score
I
a
was
lot.
picking,
We have a
if I
few
was picking,
shots
sorry,
from
go on, Dan.
distance.
So whoever's speaking,
Go
go
on.
on, sorry,
One is.
go on, Brad, go on, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying that let's hope we have a few shots from distance. That's how you beat low block teams. You shoot from distance. We've got the players that can do it. So why
What
not?
we can't get trapped into is the moving its horseshoe football. Can't get trapped into that. You gotta, like you said, take shots, get crosses in the box. Go on, Dermot. What were you going to say as well?
I just said, look, I think we should take a leaf out of Ozzy Idealist's management style of picking the team. Play 10 up front, 1 in midfield, and nobody in defence. I mean, that's what we should do.
God, that's what we were playing against Liverpool, no? Do you know what?
I swear to God, Ozzy. I swear to God, Ange looked at Ozzy and thought, "Do you know what? I love his management style. I'm gonna." And probably when we won, by the way, probably we beat Southampton 6-2 in that quarter final, and he probably thought, "Do you know what? I'm going to manage like that. That's who I'm going to take." I mean, bless Ozzy. Great player, but Jesus, was he a crap manager? But what a legend of a player, though.
Looking at Paddy D's comment there, no offence, Daniel, but if you'd have offered me a Norwegian team in the semi-final, I'd have bitten your arm off.
I mean,
do you know what?
No, I completely.
Do you know what? You put yourself in Bodo's shoes. In that semi-final draw, they also would have wanted Tottenham. That's the thing. Let's not forget.
They're not scared. I know they're not scared. I know that. I mean,
what? Oh, go on.
Norwegian media, it's not. They've been like, "Oh, we could actually get to a final."
Look, when you lose to Zagreb, when you got a manager in prison, Pachosta Ferreira, who were named after Ferrero Rochers, Vitesse Arnhem, and you blame the home crowd for being too loud. Dynamo Zagreb, when the manager's in prison, and then NS Mura, who half of them had to leave the factory at 7 o'clock to play the game. I mean, it's absolutely embarrassing. Bodo Glimt would be looking at our record in Europe down the years and say, they're the team
we are in the final.
Hungry, and they will be up for this. But I do want to go back to Jack's question about Solanke or Richarlison. Now, I would actually go with Richarlison. And hear me out. People are going to say, Dave, you have a crusade against Dom Solanke. I don't. It's actually based on logic, right? But when it comes to Richarlison and Dom Solanke, I'll go back to what Postecoglou said in his pre-match press conference when asked maybe for a bit of a difference between them. He said Dom Solanke maybe excels in other areas, which is more outside the box. Richarlison, he said, excels better in the box. So off that logic, if the name of scoring goals, if the name of the game is scoring goals, and we're expecting them to sit low block and we have to try and break them down, put crosses into the box and stuff, then surely off that logic, you go for Richarlison, right?
Yeah.
I
can't
can't do it. It might logically it makes sense, but I just cannot see Richarlison play in the semifinal game. I'm sorry. Like I just don't want. I don't know. Maybe I have an agenda against him, but just him being so wasteful.
Richarlison scored against
At least he's getting
Richarlison
chances,
scores in Europe sometimes because against Marseille,
Sometimes.
he's the one that scored the 2 goals, the 2 headers. So
I-
Richarlison is a big time player.
I
So
just
let's
can't see
not.
it from a mental well-being. Just him wasting chances and his poor touch, him not being able to hold the ball up. Like I just can't do it.
Your
I
own
think-
mental well-being, is that what you sort of are suggesting?
I just can't, like,
Let
for
me
my
ask you,
mental
though.
health, I can't do it. I can't see
If
him
he
play.
scores, will you be the first one to jump up and do the pigeon?
Let's do
Oh,
that.
of course.
for French.
No. If
Yeah,
he scores,
I thought
I'll
you
be
would
doing the
be.
pigeon,
Yeah.
like, or the pigeon, but like honestly, both choices, I'm just not confident in either of them, unfortunately. Again, as Jerome said, having both of them start, that would be the best option, and just put 1,000 crosses into the box. But I just don't see that much of a difference between. At least with Solanke, I know he can hold the ball up, he can link on play, even though he might be wasteful.
Fair.
But with Richarlison, he's a one-trick pony, right? He's good in the box, but everything else, he doesn't do. So maybe start with Solanke, and depending how the game goes, I would bring in both Richarlison and Johnson, after 60 minutes. I think,
And
to give us
and that's-
energy.
I actually think Postecoglou will go with Solanke. I actually do think he will start him. I just think maybe, personally, I would start Richarlison, but I do actually think Postecoglou will go with Solanke on that one. I think you're correct. But we do have to let Brad and Dermot drop off, so we'll let these guys drop off. Brad, you got the message in first, so we'll let you plug your channel. You said got a new song?
Yes, yeah, Blue Sofa Songs. It took me ages to do it, but I've got a new song out. It's called Takot, which, to avoid any confusion, stands for They're All Out There. You can work out what the C means. It's quite an angry song. It's quite a short song. But yeah, please go and give it a view and click like, subscribe, notification bell, all that sort of stuff. Share it with your friends. And, I have said all along in the last couple of years that I'd write a song for Tottenham if we get to the final. So
Well, I was actually going to say that to you because I
Yeah.
remember we had a conversation at the start of the season, and I said to you, if we get there, you have to write a song, and you agreed. We're close.
So yeah, I mean, I might I'll probably have to start writing it now. Actually, just I'm prepared.
You're gonna have you better get on it, honestly, especially if we win that first leg. Well, you better get on it, guys. Honestly, please make sure you get across to Brad's channel. He's a fantastic guy, I think, and this is the thing. Anyone that's met this guy will all say the same about him. He's a really nice guy, So please make sure you do get over there, smash that subscribe button, and help a Spurs fan, pursue their dreams. Because at the end of the day, if any of you were doing the same thing, we would do the same for you guys as well. And we would hope that people get across. So please get across there and support Brad on Blue Sofa Songs. And then Dermotron also needs to bow out. I think he's got his own thing to go and do now. So Dermot, thank you for your
guys.
time.
I'll say goodbye, okay?
Great
Big
job,
up,
Brad.
Brad.
Thank you, sir.
Oh,
Great
Matt,
job.
what's for dinner?
Come on, you
Golden Rule, what's
Spurs.
for dinner?
Salmon, because I've got after all the beer and rubbish food I've been eating, I've got to eat well now. So, and at least until Thursday.
Yeah, cheat
Enjoy.
days Thursday.
See you later, guys. Take care.
Great job, man.
Bye.
And Dermotron, what's coming up on your channel, my man? What can people look forward to? Oh, you're on mute, my man.
God, a professional now. Yeah, we've got just a few shows this week leading up to the game on Thursday, and yeah, if you like what I have to say, me and James are doing a few shows this week. We're going to do one on the build up, and then we're doing one tomorrow night on the managers that have been at Spurs and where have we gone wrong. It's sort of a continuation to our transfer one, where we went through managers since Pochettino and try to work out where Spurs have gone wrong. So we've got that coming out tomorrow, which I'm going to get off and prepare for now. And yeah, thanks for having me on. As always, like and subscribe. And I wasn't frustrated earlier, Jack. I wanted to think out what I wanted to say. I probably was a bit frustrated, but my ADHD's been all over the place. So I don't think I was being rude, Dave. I do apologize if I came across.
No,
like
look,
that,
if anything, it was me being rude, but I was just saying, that, making the same mistake as the Harry Kane thing. But after that, I was going to let you, continue and stuff like that. But look, regardless, look, me and you have disagreements. We don't agree with everything or what each other says. But at the end of the day, it's really hard not to love you at the same time. So, guys, please make sure you get across, smash the subscribe button on Dermo's channel, and get onto the content.
Even though I am taking the boat over for the Palace game and fucked that up completely. So yeah, I've got to rail and sail it while Dave's in
How long
luxury and flying.
is the sail from the
it was 116 euros.
No. How long time journey?
Oh, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
To Wales. It's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah, and then it's a 3-hour train. I'll be in King's
I've done the
Cross
train journey to Holyhead from London.
Yeah.
Lad. It is
I'll be there at 1:25 on that Friday. So we'll be getting there at the same time because you're landing at 10:11.
If there's no delays, Darmo.
If there's no delays. So if you're delayed, let me know and I'll wait for you outside King's Cross. You can,
I won't be delayed, lad. I'm flying straight in. No delay for me.
You're getting a private plane, are you? You're getting your private plane out.
I wish I was, lad. I wish I could afford it. I don't like travel at the best of times. It'd be nice just to rock out of a car straight into a helicopter.
I'm just glad I'm not flying. To be fair, I'm glad I'm going by boat because I hate flying. So I'm doing the Bergkamp route.
No, do you know what? I just close my eyes and sleep, and then just wake up when we arrive. It's brilliant. But Dermo, big yourself up, my man. We'll speak to you again soon, lad. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Go on this week, Dave. We need to do that podcast this week if you got time.
I gave you time last week, lad.
I know.
No,
we will.
No, we will. Yeah. We'll get it done this week, that's for sure.
All right. Speak to you later. Big up.
See you later.
Enjoy the. I want to leave you with a quote, actually, talking point. On this buy and sell thing, we can spend up to 200 million, no problems. But if we do sell and buy, we can spend more without touching the PSR line. So that's what we can spend. So I did a little digging while you lot were talking. So thought I'd leave that as a talking point for you guys if you wanted to
big up there,
talk about that. All right. Speak to you later, guys.
Speak to you soon.
See you soon.
Well, guys, we are approaching the last half hour. So, I think we'll open up the floors. Is there anything that maybe me and Jack haven't asked or stuff like that maybe you guys want to get off your chest or, have a discussion about? Don't all come at once.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I have one question. Say by some miracle, we win the Europa League.
Yeah.
What happens to Ange? What do we do? Do we still sack him at the end of the season? Or what do we do?
You send him to fucking
because the thing is that the good feeling is we won a trophy, right? In so many years. And then after that, you sack the manager that win us the trophy. It's like what do we do in this situation?
A lot of clubs have done that. Van Gaal won a FA Cup with United. They sacked him right afterwards.
Yeah.
Would United have had the history if they sacked Sir Alex Ferguson after just delivering an FA Cup?
It's nothing. Doesn't mean he's good. Fucking shit managers won fucking great. What's his name? That Chelsea manager won the first Champions League. Yeah. Well, come on now. Let's be honest here.
No, he's gone. And let's be honest, our run in Europa hasn't been that difficult, right? Compared to what could have been. So, personally, if we win, I don't care if we waste the whole next season. Keep Ange, keep anybody, I don't care, right? I just want a trophy, and next season, whatever. But if you look at our squad, we need somebody who can develop youth, who can actually coach. And if we're gonna make Champions League, if we're gonna bring in some new players, we need some stability. And just Ange, we can tell he's not that guy. He's not gonna be here for the next 2 years. So there's no point. He should win. He should tell everybody to fuck off. He's like, I win in my second year. I'm out. He can have a statue. He can have whatever he wants. And we should bring in a proper manager who can manage the youth and who can actually set us up in the Champions League so we can play like a proper team. And she's just not that guy, obviously. So
that's the problem, though. Who will be able to manage this team?
I mean,
because to be honest, everybody keeps telling me that this team should not be where they are right now. It's like, to be honest, it's like this team right now, I have to say, in a Tottenham shirt, this is the worst team I've seen in a Tottenham shirt. It's not a great team. I know we have young players. I know we have young players, role players, good players, but they're supposed to be like the main players, the older ones, the experienced one. Well, apart from Romero, Van der Ven, Kulu, Son, and who else? The rest are just like, I'm sorry, it's just like they're average. Even Solanke is just like, I think they're just average.
I agree with you on that. What I would say is, I think any manager, if another manager who people would deem more competent had this squad and this injuries this season, I think you're probably looking at around mid-table, being generous, But I don't think we would be 17th, just hovering above the relegation zone. I think we would be a little bit more up the league. But I do take your point. It's still like, saying, let's have another manager, 11th. Look, 11th to 17th is shit regardless of where you finish. We should be finishing higher. But you know what? On that question, though, in general, Jerome, I'm sort of torn on it to a certain degree because you look at the squad and you look at the manager we've got. He's not known for bringing through youth and stuff like that. He's just not known for it. Now, I know we can argue he managed the Australian underage team, but he only had that pool to pick from. It's not like, he had more experienced players and stuff like that. But you take him on clubs that he's been at. He's not a guy that has genuinely brought through young talent. He hasn't really brought through young talent at Celtic either. And I think with the way we're operating in the market and with the squad we've currently got, going into next season, I'm just not sure the match is right. I didn't think it was right this season after summer transfer we had coming into the summer, and I don't think it'd be right heading into next season. But then you also got to make the argument he'd be our most successful manager since '84, since we last won the UEFA Cup, and then some would maybe make the point. Well, look, he's won the Europa League. He's brought success. That's what we've all wanted. Many fans down the years, across various different platforms have all said, don't care about the league, want to win a trophy and stuff like that. And, maybe he's come through the fire, which is what we've all said a manager needs to do to come out the other end. But honestly, it's a huge gamble with how bad this season has been in general from game to game.
Yeah.
That it is a huge gamble. And if you are going to keep him, you've got to back him properly. You've got to bring in more experience. Basically, the club have to be prepared to spend a bit more on players and up their age profile of the players they're signing. And I don't think the club are going to do that. So for me, I'll be honest, I'm actually just going to answer it on how I feel if we do it. When that moment arrives, or if it doesn't arrive, I'll answer the question then, because I could feel different in the moment. I could be swept up with the parade, the emotions. I could be back out here singing his song like a loser and a happy clapper just because for that momentary in time, I've hit the highest peak in my fucking life. You know what I mean? So it could be a case where because of my emotions and the long, hard journey to get there, that I might actually feel different in the moment. So I'm not going to sit here and definitively give an answer. I'm actually just going to wait and see how I feel. And then after that, take a step back, assess the situation, and then give my answer moving forward. I don't really have an answer now, to be honest with you, because I could say one thing, but then we win it. Someone asks me the same question, I can end up saying something completely different because I feel different. So I'm going to have to let that happens and then just take myself back, analyze the situation, and if I can see a pathway forward, then I would say so. If I don't, then I'll also say so.
And
that's the thing for me. I agree with both of you. Next season, he shouldn't be here because it's not a match. It's not a good match. My feeling is if we win the Europa League, that means we are in the Champions League, right? Next season. That means job done. Daniel Levy might be thinking, we give him another year because he's achieved what we wanted. Even though we finished 17th, we are in the Champions League. That would be so Spurs to do. To be 17th and
in the modern day and age we live in, right? After games, when you lose, you're constantly just whatever social media sites, whatever media sites, sports sites you listen to, channels, everything's one way because that's how it's going. Everything's pointing out how bad we are. You win a Europa League, articles start to change. Pundits start to change their opinion a little, and then all of a sudden, you're seeing positive things. All of a sudden, some people's perceptions start to change, and that's a big thing. If you're seeing bad, your immediate thing is pull the plug. You win a Europa League, some people will start going, do you know what? There's something to build off here. You start seeing good things. Then all of a sudden, it's not all one way. So, it's really hard to really determine. But right now, as we sit right now, I mean, it's very hard to make the argument he deserves next season. It's very hard to make the argument.
If Ange stays, the 5-1 to Liverpool, that's going to be the preview of us in Champions League. The issue is Ange needs certain type of player to succeed. And even then, he's always been done terribly in Europe. And the thing is, if you look at Nuno, the way he adapted to the strength of his team, to what he's doing, we need a manager who doesn't just say, hey, this is my style, that's what I'm going to do. We need a manager who takes a look at the squad and says, I'm going to set you up based on the strength. If we go next season into Europe, in Champions League, playing Ange ball with the players that we have, we're going to be spanked 5-1 on weekly basis. We just cannot, unless we have his players and get new players in every position, almost every position, he's not going to succeed because he will not adapt. We need somebody who looks at the squad and adapts to the strength of the squad and go from there. And he's not going to do it.
And also, he hasn't shown the ability to be able to navigate the competitions. Spurs fans won't put up next year with prioritizing competitions. So all of our eggs are in this one. We've seen it this season as an example size, right? Even though we've not left to play from the Premier League, fans still won't accept what we're seeing. And that's the big question I have. We can't go into next season. We've got to prioritize this over this. I'm not having it, And that's where my big question mark is him heading into next season. He can't demonstrate that. So that's what's stopping me from saying, give him a chance if he wins the Europa League, because I can't take another season like this next season. Even if we end up winning, say, a League Cup off the back of it, I can't take it. It's honestly the long-term pain that I have to suffer over 365 days, of the year. Is one moment is not going to alleviate all of that. You know what I mean? And that's totally a big problem heading into next season. Sorry.
No, I have a lot to say on this, actually. I just do want to respect Favs here, though, and answer this as well. I personally, on Kulusevski, I think he's still looking so rusty at the minute that I'm not sure even whether you do even start him in this next game versus Bodo Glimt. That's just me personally. He's just not really, wowed me yet. And on the right side, I like Odegaard at the minute. I think Odegaard is actually well-suited to play against this Bodo Glimt team. Just the way that he runs at players, like especially a team in Norway, no offense, Daniel, do they really come up against tricky, under 21 French internationals like that on a regular basis? I really doubt it. And I think he could cause those guys a lot of problems. He's got that low center of gravity. He will be relentless in taking on that fullback. And that's what Eugene said, that we need to do in order to cause some problems. So I think Odegaard is well suited for this game. And then on the other side, I actually don't mind Richarlison on the wing. It's just that, again, for this type of opponent, is he the right player to play on the wing? I'm not too sure. I think you might as well.
We need fast wingers.
I think you want to have a rotation between Solanke or Richarlison. Let's say Solanke starts, plays shit for 60 minutes. You can at least have a similar but different striker come on and probably do better, or the other way around. Let's say Richarlison starts, plays shit for 60 minutes. Solanke can come on, fresh pair of legs, but can offer something similar but slightly different, through the middle. So I'd actually rather, I don't want to play them at the same time for this game.
Also, hot take, Faz. Let me know how you feel. I'd play Kulusevski over Bergvall through the middle, quite personally. Wow. I think Bergvall, the amount of times he gives away the ball, that leads to shots on our goals and stuff like that, I think is getting overlooked. And I think it's becoming more and more repetitive as the back end of the season is going on. And if that was Kulu, people would be pulling it out left, right, and centre and going ballistic. I get he's a young lad, but it's got to be pointed out and say, sit on the bench until you prove to me that you've eradicated out your game. I'd actually get Kulu and Madison through the middle with your two number 10s. Hot take. Let me know how you feel.
Sorry, Dave. I disagree. Bergvall is the only player we have who's brave on the ball, who pushes the ball. I would go Kulu and Bergvall together.
Not Madison. I think Madison's been playing well.
Madison creates.
I'm not a fan.
Madison's been carrying us through some of these European
Or Bergvall
games.
the 6. Just go Madison, Kulu, Bergvall. Just go all offense in the home leg and see what happens.
I get what people are saying about Bergvall in terms of what he can offer in that midfield. But is it not the same case as a Pedro Porro? He offers you a lot going forward, but he also costs you goals. Bergvall the other day against Liverpool, for instance, not only did he head one straight back into his own danger box for them to score off, but later on in the game, he also lost the ball that they nearly went and put 6 by us. Against Ezi Alkmaar, he was caused over 2 legs for the goals, which made that game harder. Newcastle earlier on the season, when we actually had a foothold in the game, again, he tried to make a risky pass in a deeper position where he ended up giving the ball to Newcastle to turn it over, went and scored. And there was another game against Wolves as well when he came off the bench. Turned over and ended up in the back of our own net. And I think a lot of people overlook this when it comes to Bergvall. And I think it's the same argument you make with Pedro Porro. At what point do you prioritize your defensive stability and not conceding goals over what he does going forward? And I'd also make the point, I think when we were playing our best football, which was earlier in the campaign, Kulu and Maddison were both playing as the 2 number 10s in the midfield with Bentancur sitting in, a player sitting in behind them. And I would like to get back to that coming out the end of the campaign, but not to lose. I just think people overlook Bergvall's, actually how, I can get taking a risk, but at what point do you go, okay, that's a stupid risk to take, and then, make him sit on the bench and realize that? Because I just think it's becoming a problem that we're overlooking, because I can guarantee you if Kulu was doing that, people would have pulled that out by now.
Well, but Maddison is doing nothing defensively at all. And I'm so tired of the sideways passing and backwards passing with Bergvall. Most of the games, he's the only one who actually gets the ball and tries to push it and make things happen. And in the home leg, I don't think Bodo will be trying to score. So I would just go all offense. I would just go Kulu, Maddison, and Bergvall at the 6 and just go all out. Just because I feel like most of the games that I've been watching, he's been our best midfielder. Yes, he makes mistakes. Yes, he does. But a lot of the games, he's the standout midfielder. I don't want to see Basuma. I don't want to see Sar. Maybe away, Sar can play, if we're up by 2 goals. But in the home leg, we need Bergvall to push the pace to actually try make things happen. Otherwise, it's going to be sideways passing, and I'm just so sick of it. I can't.
Fair. Well, Faz, you sparked a massive debate, so let us know what side you fall on that. I just want to take these 2 comments from Mr. Edwardson, then I want to make one last point on, what Jerome was talking about as well.
Yeah, I had a lot to say on that,
and then I want to let Jack in as well. But maybe Mr. Edwardson says Bergvall would be much better and more consistent with a manager that knows what he's doing, like many of our players. Yeah. Look, I get, people have the questions on Ange Postecoglou, right? I fully get it. But it's not about the manager right now. It's actually just about the player learning and developing. Even under another manager, he's still going to make mistakes. That happens with youthfulness. It's about learning. Where I do question is where on Ange Postecoglou on this is he pointing out his mistakes? Same with some of the players around him. Like people will go, he's only 19, you can't do that. The reality is, if you don't point out youngsters' mistake, how do you expect them to develop on that all-round player? At the end of the day, it's elite level sport. You're not doing it to dig them out. You're doing it to bring them up to your level to help you. And I hope people recognize that as well. And then when it comes to this, he also says, I think David and many others, we'd be surprised just how good our players could be with a real manager. I take that argument with some players like maybe, Archie Gray with another manager, maybe get better out of, or use Papa Matasar in a different way and get much better out of him. Romero, Van de Ven. I think they get better maybe out of some of the midfielders, maybe a little bit better out of Bentancur to a certain degree. But bet my bottom dollar, they will not get better out of this forward line. And I don't want anyone to come back to me after we've signed 3 players for the forward line and going, see, I told you another manager get better out of this forward line. No, we've signed new players. That's why we've got better out of it. So if a new manager comes in, I can guarantee you he will not get better out of this forward line, in my opinion, on that one. Let me know how you feel, Mr. Edwardson. But the last point I was going to make on Ange as well, just quickly, is another point to make on if he should be here next season. Like, the thing is, he doesn't have to abandon what his philosophy is, trying to play out from the back and stuff. But also his in-game management, I question a lot of the times because, at times, I'm not saying you have to abandon the way you want to play, but if a team is pressing you and you're having trouble playing out from the back for the first few minutes, don't keep doing the same thing. Hit the channels, push them up, get up behind the ball, and then try and implement your game from there. Just have a different game plans on how you want to implement your game plan. I'm not talking about having a complete plan B where you have to change the personnel, the formation, and all that sort of shit. But if your game plan isn't working, from the off, you should have different ways of being able to go about re-implementing your game plan in games. That's just what you expect from managers in modern
especially
day
at this
football,
level.
Especially at this
Yeah,
level,
but
especially with all the iPads and fucking everything else going around and the technology. Everything is telling you need to have another way of implementing it. So it's not abandoning it, but it's just having another way around about getting back to what you want to do if it's not working from the off. That's another one where I question if he's the right guy for next season as well. But Jack, I think you've a lot to say.
But I just think it's like two separate points, really. Like on Ange staying or going, or I guess it's really just, we all know it's depending on him winning the Europa League, right? Let's say we do win the Europa League. I worry that Daniel Levy, and this is very depressing to think about, I worry if Daniel Levy doesn't end up then pushing the boat out on transfers or anything like that, because he's getting what he wants. He's getting Champions League football, which means essentially you get a lot of that money back, with transfers. You get the £100 million stipend or whatever you call it, the bonuses. And then also he gets to tick the box for the trophy that he's been criticized for so long. So I wonder, with all the pressure that's been building towards him, this season, from Change for Tottenham, from us on these streams, from everybody, right? Everybody's putting the pressure on the guy. If we do win the Europa League, I just wonder if he kicks his feet up and just sort of kind of does a big middle finger to the rest of, sort of the fan base and whatnot. And then also knows that he's getting money from the Champions League. The stadium will be packed out for those Champions League games. The revenue will be 10 times more than it was this season. I really do worry if he doesn't then change. He'll just kind of go back to status quo, Daniel Levy, sort of, cheap signings, low wages, that whole thing. If we don't win the Europa League and Ange does get sacked, it's just my big fear again, though, is do we really trust Daniel Levy again to actually realize the shit situation that he's put himself in? Would he actually change his ways? Would he actually realize, listen, I need to fix the situation. I need to push the boat out. I need to bring in a top level manager. I need to bring in guys on big wages that are experienced. He would need to change so much so quickly to get us back into the position that we feel like we deserve to be in. That would be such a character change. That would be such a rat. It'd be like seeing someone being, like Dave, be like seeing Dave turn into a vegetarian overnight, going to church every day, all these sort of things, becoming, the big fitness freak, all these. It'd be like a radical change of philosophy and character that you just don't see happen to people, overnight. It takes a lot of time. And I do worry in both scenarios that basically Daniel Levy doesn't end up doing what we want in either scenario, whether Ange wins the Europa League or doesn't win the Europa League. But just lastly, the other point I was going to make is, let's say Ange does win it and we do sack him. What message does that send to the next manager that comes into Tottenham Hotspur? The next manager that comes in will be like, all right, this guy did deliver a trophy that they've been so desperate for so long, and they still sacked him. Which is I'd be worried if I was that next manager. It just makes us again really unattractive. It makes us very unattractive.
No, why?
I
disagree completely. He's been shit. He's been useless. Oh, he's shit.
But then the next manager knows, shit,
the next manager will be thinking, if I play the same, I'll be sacked anyway. It doesn't matter if I win something or not.
I do just the same, just as bad, in the league, fucking finishing 17th in the league. Consistent, that's the consistency. Then, maybe I do get sacked, because that's where, really, the league is where you're based on, really.
Daniel, can I ask you something, bro? Would you taking fourth and be the Champions League but win nothing? Finishing 17th, winning a trophy, and in the Champions League? What would you take?
Well, of course, right now I would take the trophy, of course. But it doesn't mean that
exactly. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't really matter where you finish, right? If the goal is for Daniel Levy, get into the Champions League, no matter what happens, and if Europa League is the way to go, I can guarantee you, whatever happens, Ange's going to get another year. If he wins the Europa League, he's going to get another year.
Point. I actually think that's a fair point. To actually put yourself in Levy's shoes, and the remit he sets is Champions League qualification. If he achieves that, does Daniel Levy deem him as a failure, because the reality is we can all have our opinions. It's Daniel Levy that's going to either pull the trigger or keep him here. You know, and you put yourself in his shoes. I mean,
But
I don't know.
boys,
You know what? You've thrown a bit of a spanner in the works there, Jerome, to be honest.
Yeah,
but let's zoom out for a
already.
second. Look, winning a trophy is great for the fans, right? I mean, obviously, Levy's going to get his Champions League money. But if we zoom out and look at the health and the state of the club for the next 5 years, regardless whether we win a trophy or not, because the trophy, we win it, great. Let's move on, right? For the next 5-10 years, what's in the best interest of the club to actually make us compete consistently for trophies? I mean, obviously winning a trophy is great, but I don't want just one trophy. I want us to consistently compete with top teams, top clubs, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at it that way, right, we need some stability, like just having Ange. Again, I would take, a waste, like next season, let's waste it, whatever, if it means a trophy. But if we zoom out and see, okay, what's in the best interest of the club long term, that's not in the best interest of the club, keeping Ange.
It's
Right?
just
We
that
need
It's definitely
we sacked
not the
Jose
best,
before
best
final,
interest
and
of
then we
the
would sack Ange after winning the Europa League. Like it's just like that's just again,
Yeah.
it's just like, and Tottenham Hotspur are already being seen as a poison chalice. I just feel like it makes us even look more like a poison chalice, where it's just like they're ruthless over there, but they don't actually win very
I think
much.
it does beg the question: what do you want? You know, if you do like you sack Jose Mourinho before the chance of winning something, and then like Jack says, you sack Ange after winning something. If you're a manager looking at that, you're straight away. Your first question walking in, if you're summoned for a meeting with Daniel Levy, is what are you actually expecting out of me here? Because, you're giving off the perception is, or the mixed messages you're sending out, whether you're actually sending them out or not, but your decisions are making it look that way. So I think, it does sort of beg that question that if you are a manager, say, like in Arne Slot's situation, you got another club coming for you and Tottenham Hotspur, you're going to take that other club all day long.
Yeah.
But
see, that's the thing about
it's just, if I'm in the manager's shoes, the next
losing
manager's
19
shoes.
games next season. Do you know what I mean? Like, you would like to think if we're playing in the Champions League, you're going to play a tougher caliber of competition, which also means you're going to have less energy on the weekend because you're using your best players a lot more and stuff like that. And again, it's just like, can you tolerate that next season? See, this is the thing. Honestly, that's why I just say I'm just going to wait and see how I feel.
I just worry for whichever manager would then be lined. Like if we sack him after it, we don't give him, let's say, 10 games, because it's not like we would give him as long as we did this season. Like if he started tanking it again, in the next season in the Premier League, he'll be sacked very quickly. I trust that. But that's what I just wonder. Like, would we, if you are then trying to get a Jurgen Klopp in or any of the managers were linked to, like I would be confused by what the club wants and what you would expect of them. Like,
for them would be Champions League or bust. For them right now, with that stadium, it's just Champions League or bust. Because the thing is, Jose is sacking. We know he got sacked before the final. Why was that? Because Jose was trying to just give up on the league. The game for Southampton, he was going to make changes so he can rest players for the final. He had a bust up with Levy because Levy wanted him to play his best and get him to the Champions League. And he didn't want to, he got sacked. That's what they want. And if Ange wins the Europa League, that's when Champions League is done, I'm telling you, he's gonna have one more year. And that's what I'm worried about.
But being embarrassed in the Champions League next season, imagine like Levy, we make the Champions League, everybody's happy, and then we play Madrid or Barcelona, any good team, and get pumped 5-1 every single time.
You don't think he'd be sacked after that, though? Like, I think he would. I think Daniel Levy would be like,
he would be
from this last season. Like, he's done. I think he would just give him a short leash for the next season, like they did with Ten Hag. They gave him a very short leash.
But what's the point then? We know it's going to happen, so just sack him now.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're giving him a short leash heading into the next season, I mean, it's not the right thing to do either, because it already means you really don't have faith in him heading into that season to a large degree. You know what I mean? I think the way it needs to be weighed up is, you make the pros and the cons, and whatever way it leans, I think is the way you've got to go. If there's more reasons to keep him, you keep him. If there's more reasons to get him gone, you get him gone. But I'd argue there's more reasons to sack him than there is keep him. I mean, even if he wins the Europa League, because
I agree too.
even if you want to refer to what he'd done the season before, didn't have Europe. We went out of the 2 cups early. We didn't get cup runs at all. So it's hard to say that going into next season, you can handle all 4 competitions without us having sacrificed, say, when it comes to the league. And that's where I think, look, honestly, I think for both parties, it would be good just for mutual termination to a certain degree. Postecoglou walks away, winning the Europa League. He sort of, to a degree, keeps his reputation in check. And then, Tottenham haven't sacked him either. But look, like I said, I'm just going to see how I feel. But
to be honest, I think
more cons than pros.
Yeah. Ange is going to walk. To me, looking at his demeanor, looking at his face, he's going to walk. No matter what happens, he's going to walk out of his club. Whether he wins or not, Ange is walking out. Looking at his face and his demeanor, I think he's got sick of the media. He's got sick of everything. He's got sick of getting abused every single day, every single week. I think he's going to walk out. He's done. He's done. Looking at his face, looking at his demeanor, he's done with his club.
But
he's not
same thing, you win a trophy, he's going to have glee written everywhere, same as the players. Their demeanor changes.
Well, the thing is, he can even win a trophy. He can just go to your face. Look, I won you a trophy. F you. I'm out of here now. Yeah, now I'm out of here.
Do you know what? If he does that, I will absolutely hate the guy because I think that's childish and on his behalf. Don't get me wrong. I understand that at times, people have said make rotations. Then when he does, people moan about and stuff like that. I get sometimes he can be in a bit of every manager to a certain degree can be a bit of a no-win situation. But I think if he does that, I'm going to absolutely fucking go after the fucker. I'm sorry, I am. That's no way.
No, it's true. Yeah.
At the end of the day, be the bigger person and go, do you know what? Been a difficult journey to get here. I've done what I've said. You guys aren't have me. Let's just call it a day. If he walks out and says, I've delivered a trophy, fuck you. No, fuck you. Honestly, fuck you. I think you got to be, at the end of the day, a manager has to be the biggest person at the club. They have to be bigger than the journalists, bigger than the players, bigger than the fans. They've got to realize that's just the role it is. That's the role they take on. You can't then, because at the end of the day, you delve into that pettiness, she's going to make people hate him even more. And especially if he does want to sort of keep his job going into next season. If he wins and he comes out snapping back at people, which I'd argue is the right time to do it, not when he's done it at times this season. But if he does, again, fans will have him on a short leash, and it's just not the right atmosphere to be heading into a new season with.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Is like, to me, it's like he looks that petty because looking at it, everything he's been saying lately, he's been told to lose a game, but he tried to win and he got hated for it, and everything that he just said, he looks to be a petty person. So I'm thinking if we win the Europa League, he will actually tell us to our face, I told you I win in my second season. Now, piss off, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know what he is? He's a big baby. That's what he is. He's a big fucking baby.
He is.
I'm the same way. So when I see him, I'm like, yep, that's what I would do. I would have my emotions get the best of me, and I would be like, you know what? But ultimately, like, Jack, to what you were saying, like, I'm just tired of half measures, as we saw with Manchester United and Ten Hag. Everybody knew it's not going to work out with Ange. We have almost 2 seasons of proof, right, that it doesn't matter what happens, it's just not going to work. So if you do keep him, no short leashes, just back him and give him the whole season. But we all know what's going to happen. So it's just there's no point of just saying, hey, after 10 games, we're going to sack you, because that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So
I think you're right.
Or just don't do it.
I think you're right. I think everyone else is right. I'm wrong on this. I'm just probably thinking too much on the side. If I were the prospective manager being lined up for the Spurs job, I would look at that very confused. Yeah. It's just kind of like, because you're thinking of the context of Tottenham. You're like, okay, like they don't ever win because of Daniel Levy. You're already worried about taking the job in the first place because of Daniel Levy. But then you get sacked for winning like a trophy in case you sacrifice the league. But then if you also get criticized and sacked if you don't win a trophy, but you do well enough in the league, like you're just like, how the fuck do I win without winning a treble or something? Like, which is again, like you're never going to do that at Spurs. So I would be deeply confused on the manager.
But that's the thing. You're both actually right in what you're saying. To a degree, Eugene, you're right in what you're saying. You can't be going in, especially if you're 10 games in. You've wasted a whole summer transfer window, bringing in players for one system. You're bringing in another manager. that's all tits up. And then this club ain't going to have a big January to rectify that. So again, you're causing problems. Your season's over before it's even began to a large degree. But Jack's also right. You sack a manager after winning Europa League. It does make other managers question whether they're actually going to stake their reputation and their future on Tottenham Hotspur. The reality is that's just the situation we're in. But you're both actually right. So this is why the club really need to thread these waters carefully and get it right, because
but
either way, it's just not good.
But also, I will say, he's not sacked because of winning the Europa League. He's sacked because potentially losing over 20 league fucking games.
Yeah,
that's what.
But that's the problem. Maybe he was given the green light. Just give up on the league. Give up completely on it. Just go for the Europa League. That's my issue here. You can clearly see. Yeah, but you can clearly see that the team doesn't give a crap about the league. They don't even play for it anymore. They don't do anything. This is where I'm really annoyed. This is where I get annoyed with this team.
Yeah.
Because even when you put your French players, they don't care. It's like they don't even care about it. This is where I get annoyed. It's like it doesn't matter what we do. They clearly show the league doesn't matter to them. Whether it's the stupid French players or even the senior players, they don't care about it. They don't want to play. They don't want to show passion. They don't want to show anything. And even though we're going to say the manager is crap, it's on the players as well. If the manager says, don't worry about the league, it reflects on the players. But we say, we don't worry about it. Just let it go.
Do you know what? I do agree with you in terms of this why, players, especially the guys on the periphery, have to take responsibility because, okay, if the first 11 are told to take their feet off, to a certain degree, I'm resting you for the Europa League. Yeah, fine. But who are you as a fringe player to go, I'll adopt that same mentality as well? Because the reality is you ain't starting in that game. You're going to warm the bench. You're probably not even going to come on. But if you actually want to get a game in that game, you should be using that Premier League to try your hardest, go out and play well, to put yourself in the manager's plans. And that's where I do agree with you on the players, especially the likes of periphery players need to take responsibility because they no way should. If I put it this way, if I'm in that squad, right, and I'm on the periphery, I'm not going into a Premier League game going, I'll just take it easy. Europa League on Thursday. I'm going to do everything I can to even make the manager think about me when he's selecting his team fucking Thursday. And I think at Tottenham Hotspur, a lot of them players don't think like that. And that's where I do think a manager doesn't really have a chance as soon as teams aren't going well because you don't have players on the periphery. Like you've got Ben Davies, who's just happy to come in and play the odd game and collect his 80k a week. And we're going to give him another contract because we go, well, he doesn't kick up. He's a good squad player. I want my squad players kicking up. I want them demanding minutes. I want them, and then taking them. If they're not, then that's a huge problem for me. It shows that they're just okay with whatever way the wind's blowing to a certain degree. But look, guys, I have to say, I've actually really enjoyed this format on the fan show. Really enjoyed all your contributions, actually. I hope we can get this going sort of, every time we do these fan shows. People in the comments and people that come on, let us know how you feel about it. You prefer it this way. But we are going to wrap it up. So we'll go around the houses. We'll let everyone, get whatever else they want off their chest. And then we will wrap it up. We'll start with you, Eugene. Good to see you back, by the way, my man. And
good to be back.
Hopefully you enjoyed your trip.
I did. Everything except the game. And you were saying a while back that you're hoping that we win so that the atmosphere for the Palace game would be good. I thought after we beat Frankfurt, the atmosphere is going to be good, and it was terrible. So, but hope you're luckier than me. But no, good to be on with you boys. Like, just my final thoughts on Ange. If we were 8th right now and won a cup, I would be, you know what? Keep him because injuries, this and that. But we now know that outside of the first 10 games of last season, we know for a fact that whatever Ange is trying to do, it does not work in the league, and it's not going to work in Champions League. So, we're not 8th, we're not 9th. Being 17th is proof that whatever he's doing is just not working. So I hope we win, but next season we just need a manager who can adapt to the actual squad that we have. We will never bring in top players, unfortunately. So we'll just need to work with who we have. And as we see Nuno, is doing and other managers is doing, it's possible just to be, to change up your system and adapt to the players that you have. So I like Ange as a person. You guys know I backed him until the very end.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And I was fighting with everybody, I believed in Ange, but you just got to look at the evidence and say, hey, I hope we win, but going forward, he's just not the guy.
What I will say with you on that, Eugene, and I agree with a lot of what you said, where I sort of maybe slightly disagree before we end off, is I don't think we should get into a position where we should, we're never going to buy top players, just accept what we have. The reality is what we spend, you can still get a lot better player for that money than what we are, and I think that would make a massive difference if we spent it better. For instance, I get you use Forest, but they also sold Brennan Johnson to us and they used that money to kick on, and we're stuck with, a player that couldn't fire them further up the league to a certain degree. So I do get what you're saying, but in terms of Postecoglou, but in terms of the recruitment, and I urge this to everybody, the club can do a lot better with their 50 million that they spent on Johnson. There's a lot better players out there you can go after. But no, great. Like I said, great to have you back, Eugene, and hopefully we see you doing a lot more of this with us, my man. Daniel, any last words heading into the game?
No, I just hope we win this Europa League and we can have something to cheer for. It would be awesome. I mean, if we, like I said, if we win this, I don't care. I mean, I would run around butt naked. I wouldn't care, that's how much it means to lift the trophy.
We all will.
How shit we are. Yeah.
Hey,
and also because when you and Jack are over there, I hope you can have a really good time. We're going to the final. So
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, look, hopefully you can have a good time Thursday night. Spurs in your country. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Spurs fans out watching the game. Hopefully you can find somewhere to watch it with them and enjoy yourself, Daniel.
Yeah.
Again,
and also, if we do lose against them, I'm never going to hear the end of them because not even football fans. They're going to be some non-football fans going, "Oh, I Spurs party. Oh yeah, the team that lost to Bodo. Oh, great. Yeah, that's going to happen." So I hope.
Look, if we lose to them, I think most of us are going to have to try and pick a developing country and move out there where there's no internet and stuff like that, where they can't find us. Absolutely spot on there, Daniel. Yeah. And like I said, with Eugene, it's absolutely great to have you on this as well, my man. Really appreciate it. And you bring good talking points along with Eugene. And last but not least, Thank Jerome, you. My man, a man from down under. Any last things you want to say before we end off?
Yeah, all I have to say is please, Spurs, please win on Thursday, but win by a lot, because I want them to win by at least 4-0, because I don't want to go to Bodo Glimt and get embarrassed, because please win by a lot. And then after that, it's like, if we win the Europa League and we're finishing 17th and Arsenal gets knocked out of the Champions League, oh my days, it's going to be hell to pay. Just think about it. Our worst season ever. We're finishing 17th. We win another European trophy in front of Arsenal, and Arsenal doesn't win shit this season. Oh my goodness. It's going to be hell to pay.
Turn around.
Honestly, you watch them go absolutely ballistic if we win the UEFA Cup and they don't win anything. They'll have much more different discussions around Arteta and things like that moving forward. Do you know what? As petty as it sounds, I will rub it in. Any Arsenal people I see or any channels, I'll just be like, anytime the dog Tottenham, I'm like, yeah, we won a European trophy. Hold that. Oh, no, wait, you can't. That's the problem. You know what I mean? I'll just absolutely, rub it into them. Even though we're in the shit, I told you, I'm a petty fan. You give me something, just one little thing to rub in, I'm going to do it. But guys, I want to, again, Jerome, absolutely brilliant to have you on. It's actually nice to get you on a longer format, conversation as well. Sometimes the fan cams you can only get so much across, but when you're having back and forth conversations, I think we definitely get a lot more out of you, Jerome. So big up, and hopefully we see you back on more of these as well. I want to say also to Dermo and Brad as well. Big up, guys.
Great job from them.
Great job from them. Hopefully we see you back next week as well. And to everybody at home watching, really do appreciate it. Seems like you prefer this format better than bringing people on individually. I think the numbers probably reflect that as well. So have a good evening. I know we're still angry, but look, Wednesday we wake up in a different mood. It's all about Bodo Glimt. Let's fucking go. Have a good evening. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.